What's up, everyone? This is Jeremy from North Country Riffworks, and today I'm talking to you about this BLACKSTAR Amped 1. It's a 100-watt power amp I recently acquired to solve a very specific problem. That problem being flying into places and borrowing equipment only to have that equipment not suit your needs. So I got this to sort of just have an extra security blanket and sense of control. The way I've been using it, which you'll see in the next segment, is just running it clean and pretty flat and then letting my pedal board do the job. There have been a million times, it seems, where I've flown to a festival or started a tour with rented backline overseas, only to realize that that backline maybe wasn't as well maintained or didn't sound as good as I had anticipated. And I was just like, man, I wish I had something of my own to control that. So now I do. It's got universal voltage, and so I can use it anywhere in the world. And it's got this emulated output, so you can feed a cabinet emulated output to front of house or to your monitor or whatever you like. It's got 3 different cab rigs you can use. I put it on number 1, which is a 412 that I dialed up in the Architect software. For the goof, on number 2, I used a 2x10 cabinet, so if I'm at home experimenting, I have a clean sound there. And then in the event I get to plug this into something else that has a cabinet emulation that I like better, I could set it to number 3, which I set as just a flat direct out of the guitar signal. The best thing about this is this and my pedal board fit in a carry-on pack. So if it's a one-off where you're flying somewhere, you don't have to pay that extra baggage fee to check something if you're only going to be there for a weekend. I had my backpack last time, just a backpack with a couple days clothes, carry on with my gear, and I was good to go. The other thing I've been using it a lot for is practice. I don't want to necessarily run my tube amp for 2 hours if I'm just running scale patterns. So this has been a great tool for that. And I've been using it for lessons, anything where I'm running the amp for a long time, but I don't necessarily need to have the best of the best. Lastly, it's great to just throw this in my pedal board bag and go to my buddy's house where he's got cabinets already and just not have to schlep 80-pound tube amp. Anyway, that's all I'll say about this for now. I think you'll probably figure out how useful this is in the next segment here, so let's get to that now. So here we are, my pedal board with the Amped 1. So this pedal board has sort of been designed as a fly rig of sorts before I got the Amped 1. If I'm running my rig at home, I'm not using a Friedman distortion pedal. I'm using a guitar amp and running, delay through the effects loop and all that stuff. But when you're showing up to a festival using somebody else's gear, I just wanted something designed to get on and off stage quickly. So 1 cable in, 1 cable out, and just have my sound as best I can get from a pedal board into a clean channel of a really great amp. But in this case, let's assume that the amp that I showed up to is a steaming pile of crap, which is more often than I wish it was. So in that case, I'll just pull out the Amped 1. So let me take you through the signal flow real quick before we get to the tones. I've got the guitar running into the Crybaby, out of that to the tuner, then the flanger, then the phaser. From the phaser, we go down here into the overdrive, into the compressor, into the, it's called an overdrive, but this is a distortion pedal. This is the main heavy guitar sound. And then out of that into a delay, from the pedal board out of the delay into the input of the Amped 1. In a live situation, I'd be going out of the speaker out into a cabinet, as well as feeding a cabinet simulation output to front of house. For today, you're just going to hear the cabinet simulation that I've dialed up in the Architect software that BLACKSTAR gives you. So let's start with some cleans. and then we'll do some other tones after that. So here's just the dry tone I've dialed in. Before I start that, you'll notice the voice I've chosen is flat. It has USA and UK voices as well. Both of them sound pretty good, but I'm getting all my voicing from the pedals, which you'll see in a second. So I'm keeping that flat, and then my tube response for the power amp is an EL34 sound, because all the amps that I would play, if I'm able to bring mine, that's what's powering them, and that's just the sound I like. I am using a plate reverb in here with a little bit of, just a little bit of juice. And that's that. So let's hear everything before I turn a single pedal on. That's the bridge pickup. Here's the middle. And then the neck. So it's a little dull, but much like a real amp, with the clean channel, if you're playing a high gain amp, sometimes the clean channels are kind of dull too. That's why I bring this compressor with me. So this will kind of gel everything together, give it that old school, compression that you get from a vintage style amp. And it also has a tone knob, so I can add a little sizzle to the top, because without it, it's a little dead because I'm running it flat, but with it, pardon the clam. So that would be what the front of house person is going to be receiving, as well as what you'd hear through the monitors, and similar to what you'd hear coming out of a cabinet if we were using one. Not bad. Does it sound as good as my, main rig? Not quite. But does it sound better than a roached amp that hasn't been serviced in 30 years, that somebody told you was in perfect working condition before you got there, and then you got there and it wasn't? Definitely. So moving on from that, I'll turn the overdrive on so you can hear just some edge, a little over the edge of breakup kind of tones. So again, not too shabby. But the main sound that I use probably 80% of the time comes from this Friedman BEOD, which is a great pedal. So good that I wound up buying the amp. So be careful. So here's the Friedman. I'm a little out of tune, but what are you going to do, huh? Throw some delay, throw some overdrive, and then you can give you a little bit of a lead sound. So again, like I've said a couple times now, maybe you're getting sick of it. Basically, the Amped one, for all intents and purposes, just really does a great job with proper preparation on the pedal board side of just getting something dialed and having clean power to run it into, and the fact that it runs on universal voltage anywhere in the world is a plus. Yeah, that's just kind of a basic rundown of how I'm integrating this into what was already a pre-existing live rig to give myself just one more piece of security and peace of mind, knowing that if all else fails, I have this piece of gear here that can save me from suffering through running all this stuff I spend so much time and money on to get right, only to plug it into something that just sounds like butt. This is a lifesaver. One way that I didn't mention this could save you in a pinch is even if you're not flying, if you're just playing a show with your own rig or on tour or whatever, this is a great backup solution. If your tube amp fails on you, this is a great way to just sort of save you that day, that week, that month until you can get your main thing repaired. But anyway, thanks for checking it out. Hope you learned something. And please hit subscribe and like if you did. Leave me a comment if you have any questions about this or anything else. And I'll see you next time. Have a good one.